Welcome to Inconvenient Disparities, the podcast that brings uncomfortable truths about health and well-being gaps to light. We're diving into the stories, data, and voices that are too often ignored because closing the gap starts with facing it. And now, here's your host, Stephanie Monroe.
Well, hello there. I have been waiting to do this podcast. It's been years in the making, at least in the brain, of thinking about how do I use my voice now that I've officially retired from full-time work to make a difference to people and hopefully to the world, if I could be dramatic. Welcome to Inconvenient Disparities. Even picking the title of a podcast is a challenge. You want to be thoughtful, you want to be a little provocative, but you want to really bring in what you hope this message will dispel. And I'm wanting to dispel the idea that addressing disparities is just inconvenient. It's too hard. It's okay because it's such a small number of people. Well, I'm also a data person, and I know from the facts that minoritized populations, that women, that people based on their gender, that people based on their country of origin, and of course, race and ethnicity, that we are often overlooked, undervalued, undercounted, underincluded. So I'm tired of us being under, because guess what, y'all? We are going to be the new majority of this country. In fact, in 7 states, we already are. And that's exciting. It's exciting to think about where so many of these populations have come, how we started in this nation, whether we were here voluntarily, whether we were enslaved, whether we were had land taken away from us, whether we were dismissed and had to have the Supreme Court decide that we were actually people, or that women, we actually weren't property and we had the ability to vote, whether we were immigrants and we have to get the government to approve our entry and follow lots of rules that are here. Now, I'm not arguing that any of these things are wrong or right. I'm just saying what is. And I think that's what we need to do. When we talk about being woke or not being woke, let's just be honest, okay? Let's be honest about our past, about our history. Let's be honest about what's going on right now and what's going to happen if we don't address these things which are inconvenient. Because I have worked a very long time in government. I spent 25 years working on Capitol Hill in the US Senate on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. And there I got to work on family-friendly legislation that impacted families and their children and older individuals and veterans and the like. And we all have challenges from all different places. And sometimes we address them as a government and sometimes we're not. And sometimes we address them by letting communities identify and figure out what works for them. And sometimes the government decides that they know better than communities. So we spend a lot of time, a lot of resources thinking and addressing these issues as best we can at the moment. But the moment now is different. It's different than the moment even after COVID. It's different than the moment in the 90s and the 80s. Go back as far as you can. We have to be flexible and we have to be honest. So let's keep the truth the central, and let's keep people and the services that they are provided, the hands up, not the hands out, because we're about helping people, lifting people into the boat. And in fact, on some of the legislation I've worked on, like welfare reform, the government people thought, people, they're lazy. They don't want to work. They just want the government to give them a handout. And we actually brought people in who were on Medicaid, were on TANF. And they told us, we want to work. We want our children to see us providing. We need a little bit of help. We need childcare so that we can actually go to work. We need paid family medical leave so that our loved ones that we're taking care of can be taken care of while we work. We want to make sure that we can accompany people who aren't able to speak for themselves to medical visits so we can make sure they're getting the right care, right? We're in school. We want to make sure that when we graduate from high school, it means something, that we're reading beyond a fourth grade reading level. We want to have access to colleges. We want to have access to vocational education. And so many of these access issues, we as a people, I think, are responsible for meeting people where they are. People are our government. People are the taxpayers. Programs should be designed with them in mind and them included at a table. They are not inconvenient. The disparities that they experience have to be addressed in order for our nation to flourish as our founders intended. And as I think all of us today want to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to reach their highest potential. So that's the thing that we're going to be talking about on this podcast. We're going to have an opportunity to meet, and I'm going to have an opportunity to engage with people who have worked in these different spaces, researchers, community activists, regular folk who are going to tell us with their own voices what it means to feel a little bit invisible, like your needs don't matter, like you don't matter, like you are a number. And that is absolutely not true. So I want us all to sit back and be comfortable. But at the end of the day, I don't want people to leave admiring the program. Yep, I can throw tons of statistics at you, and I may accidentally do that. But I want you to know that behind every statistic is a real person, are groups of people, our needs, are our neighbors, and they can use at times a hand up. Let's make sure that the programs that we spend our taxpayer dollars on are working. Let's make sure that we give churches and other community-based opportunities an opportunity to serve their fellow neighbor. I feel as a caregiver, as a parent, as a person that's engaged in my community, that we are so rewarded and blessed when we can provide even the simplest of things to one another. Let's not be content to sit back and wait for someone else to do it. We've got to acknowledge where there are challenges, and let's do our part to address it. So thank you so much for joining this brief introduction. You'll learn more about me in the coming weeks, but thank you today for joining me in this launch on Juneteenth.